So let me continue. I work as a senior forecaster for about 9 years, and I also, some of my working time is for EUMeTrain working group, as today. So I will put a little X where I'm coming from, and I hope you can all do the same. Just let me see. I need to give you the rights. Okay, please try now. It should work. Okay. Also here. Okay. Nice. Okay, all the way from Portugal up to the north. Then someone from Ireland, nice. Greece. Okay. Great. So let's continue. Okay, so I was in the shift yesterday and I found it a really interesting day. If you take a look at the surface analysis, you can see that Croatia was under the influence of high pressure. The pressure was around 1030 hectopascals. I think someone has microphone on. Just a sec. Okay. And there is almost a stationary front above Poland and up to Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and then further north, sorry. So all in all, pretty far. And in such a condition, you might not expect too much clouds. So let's take a look how it was in the morning in Croatia. While most of the parts were quiet with clear skies or with small to medium cloudiness, the central Croatia and the mountain ranges were covered with clouds and there was snowing. And also have a look at the temperatures on the eastern part of Croatia, much lower than the rest, mostly from -10 to -5 degrees. So let's now have a look on the upper atmosphere and try to understand why this was happening. So let's take a look at the Airmas and try to draw a ridge and a trough. Okay, don't be shy. And where would you expect a ridge? Very good, very good. Good, good. Okay, I can see everyone knows their stuff, so we shall continue. I have chosen to overlap the air mass with the jet stream, so you can see how really nicely the airstream goes around the ridge and then down to the trough above Eastern Mediterranean. And in fact, I usually use it also in my forecasting shifts. And if we now overlap it with the geopotential height at 300 hectopascals, it only validates our claim for the position of the upper level high and low. So if we now put everything that we looked at to have a clear picture of how the systems are in the whole depth of the atmosphere, which we can do using ECMWF analysis, we can see that both the ridge and the trough, looking from ground up, they're a bit tilted. So they're both tilted a little bit. The thermobaric systems are both tilted a little bit north-northwest. So the west part of Croatia is more under the influence of the ridge, its rim, while the southern and eastern part is more under the influence of cold, dry air coming on the backside of the trough. So that's why the eastern part is so cloudless and quite cold. But we are interested, where is our moisture coming from? Why is it snowing? So it must be coming from north-northwest. And if you remember, I mentioned the warm front at the beginning that seemed really high up on the north side. However, the moisture comes into the jet stream and then travels down towards the central and mountainous regions. But in the afternoon, the clouds cleared, the cold advection started, and now, can you see the snow on the ground? If you could show it, yes, very good. Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of snow. It was mostly around 2 to 5 centimeters, but it can be really nicely seen on the near natural high resolution visible. I wanted to show you the difference between day before, but it was too cloudy to show. Okay, so there is also one other thing that's really interesting on this image. Just a sec. What would you say? Why are these clouds in the northern Adriatic? Why do they have this this kind of like rows, like streets? Why do they have this? Why do they appear like that? What's the cause? What's pushing them like that? You can put in the chat or something, it's okay.
Should we guess lee waves?
Yeah, it's because of bura wind. Bura is blowing and it's going over the mountain ranges, so you can really nicely see how the formation is. Okay, good. Bura wasn't too strong. It was moderate to strong with some gale force gusts, 17 to 22 meters per second, but locally up to 25. This kind of situation is pretty common, and the people at the coast, they are really used to this kind of wind speeds. But because of the jet stream that was going over Croatia, it was really windy through whole the atmosphere. The highest wind speeds were around 250 hectopascals. However, about 2 weeks ago, there was a bit different situation, and we had a very strong bura episode which is not as common, especially lasting for 2 to 3 days. So, before I continue, let me tell you a little bit more about bura. It's gusty northeasterly downslope wind, and it often occurs in the eastern coast of Adriatic, on a leeward side of mountains Velebit, Tinara, and Biokovo. It usually brings colder and drier air to the Adriatic. As you could see, we had clear skies. And it's more frequent in the northern Adriatic and more severe, or mostly the highest wind speeds are under Mountain Velebit, and that is because of its orientation, which is perpendicular to the northeasterly winds, and it has quite gentle slopes on the windward side, while on the leeward side the slopes are very steep. And also we have some places where we usually measure the highest wind speeds, and that's really narrow mountain passes in the mountain. So bura is stronger and more frequent in winter, and in that time it usually lasts for more than 1 day. Okay, so let's take a look at January 11th. I have chosen January 11th because at that day really the strongest winds started, the highest speed. And before I start explanation, could you show me the where is the warm air mass and where is the cold air mass? Okay, just a second. Okay, wait. Okay, yes, C, W, yeah.
The cold air mass should come from northeast or not?
Yes, yes, northeast, yes. But you can really see the difference in color because the warm air mass is kind of greenish yellowish, while the cold is more on the blue side. Okay, this like really nicely profound border between warm and cold air mass can always give you a hint where the jet stream is. So if we compare it to the yesterday's situation, we can see that the jet stream is kind of on the lower side. Further from Croatia, it's over the Adriatic, and there is no jet stream over Croatian area. So as we would expect then, just a second. So we would expect then the wind is not as strong in the upper atmosphere, but we will see that really high winds were there at the coast. Unfortunately, I couldn't get radio sending from Zadar because most likely they weren't letting out the radio sounding balloons because of the weather. So maybe we would have lost the guy with the balloon together. Okay, so let's take a look at the geopotential height. It is going to help us to see where the upper level ridge and trough are. And as you can see this time, the ridge is really elongated. It goes over a bigger part of Europe, from Spain all the way to Scandinavia. And on the other hand, we have a trough over eastern and southeastern part of Europe with a cutoff low a little bit to the south of Italy. And if we take a look at the ground, the first thing that should really catch your eye is a really big difference in the surface pressure. If we take a look at the most northern part, it's around 1025 hectopascals, while most southern part is around 1005. So altogether about 20 hectopascal big difference. So you would immediately anticipate really high winds. And if we now take a look at the whole picture, you can see that this time the systems are really aligned. They seem like to really be one on top of the other. They don't have such a shift in the upper part like they had in the last case. And also what is really interesting to see, if you look at the bottom right image where you have the systems at the ground, you can see there is a lot of moisture coming from the Adriatic and from the Black Sea and from the Adriatic, yes. So how does it look now on our satellite imagery? You can see a lot more clouds because the cyclone now is much closer, but in the northern part already, because the whole system is going more southeast, it's already clearing the skies, while the southern part is still covered, and that kind of cases we call dark bura or škura bura, and sometimes we even have snowfall or rain, depending in fact how close the center of the cyclone is to the Adriatic or to Mediterranean Sea. So, you can see the whole system at the south shifted more to the south, more to Greece, while the anticyclone was growing stronger, and now we have clear bura on Wednesday. I think that was Wednesday as well. So let's take a look at the wind speeds. I have to say that high winds were through whole coast, not just one peculiar site or just north. Also, the bura started on Monday. It was growing steadily at the south. That's most Dubrovnik. And in the northern park, most Krk, you can see a jump in the strength. And that's quite common that you have a sudden jump in the wind speed. The wind speed in the north was up to, the gusts were up to 50 meters per second, while in the south it was a bit milder and only 40 meters per second. So because of the high winds, our meteorological service has issued red warnings for northern coast and orange for Dalmatia, while the colleagues from Split, in charge of the sea warnings, they have issued red warnings almost for the whole sea and only orange for the western part of Istria that usually doesn't get such high winds. So, what's the aftermath of that situation? It was quite dynamic. Don't forget that the warnings were there for 3 days. So, let's start with the islands that had really big problems because there was no ferries going. So, for example, Island Rab, where there is the little note, it was completely isolated from the shores for 3 days. There was no way to get to the shore. They had good luck that there was no really a need for such a thing. While on Island Kirk, that is a little bit up, they have the bridge. However, when there are such high wind speeds, the bridge is closed, and only in special kind of vehicle, as you can see in the bottom right picture, you can cross. It's made specially for our firefighters, just in such cases when they need to get patients across to the mainland. They had 5 such patients during that time, and they had to cross the bridge. So there were really frequent roadblocks because of the fallen trees, and also we had one severe case with an old stone abandoned house that was taken down with one of the gusts. So already the alternative routes, those are alternative routes, they were also being blocked, and it was really hard to get anyway from north to south. As you can see, the road goes just under the Velebit mountain, so in such severe cases the roads are closed, and there is a ban for any kind of vehicles to go through them. However, there's always someone who is really in a big rush or has a deadline, and it was like that this time. A truck driver went anyway, and the truck was pushed off the road and the driver died. In Dalmatia, however, we didn't have such problems. There was a different problem. There was a big fire that happened near Omiš, and the firefighters were there, around more than 100 firefighters. It was quite hard because the wind was constantly refurbishing the fire, so yeah, it was hard, and then the terrain as well. The wind was really easily going upslope. They had a problem to come near the slopes because the wind also was pulling on their hoses, so it was really hard to put the hoses at the right place, and there's no speaking about the planes to help because the wind was really too strong. So the fire was for about 24 hours, and it's mostly shrubs, forest, and olive garden. And that's about it. If you want to know more about Bura, there is more about it on our Satmanu, and you can go there and check it. But now, if you have some questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to help and answer any questions.